Good morning, Soden Bowl. I'm S. Soden, SB Radio host. Welcome to Week 7, sponsored by Allied Plumbing and Heat, a name you can trust. So, topic for Week 7. We have, looks like 4 or 5 games left to play, advances tonight. We've got some good activity. We need to stay on top of it. We got a couple users who kind of dancing in and out of being active. Have to make sure you're getting your games in, guys. Players that don't get their games in, that don't respond, you will be replaced. We have a lot of other people interested in teams. This is a professional league. We expect you to act like it. We expect you to be active. And if you can't be, let us know. We'll replace you. If you don't let us know and you simply aren't active, we'll replace you too. So, had a chance to watch a game last night. New owner, Beasley Beeman. He's the Cincinnati Bengals owner. He squared off against the Kansas City Chiefs and Hall of Fame owner, You're Blessed. I got to tell you, after watching Cincinnati, he played a very dominant game. Mixon was just out of this world. Seems like anything the Bengals did seemed to work. Bengals won pretty easily, 45-7. Let's get that out of the way. The Bengals are now 5-2, 2 games out of the lead in the AFC North. You got the undefeated Browns up there who are just playing out of this world. But reality check, Cleveland. You now have somebody in your division that looks like they're going to give you a run for your division. I know we got Jimmer and the Steelers there, and we got the Ravens with Uncle Creepy, but Creepy had to step away from the game for a little while, so I think by the time he comes back, it may be too late. Mixon had 17 carries for 148 yards and 2 touchdowns. I think he's still running right now, and nobody can stop him. The Chiefs, they were hurting a little bit. They didn't have Patrick Mahomes. He was injured. They don't have their starting running back, Hunt. He's injured too. Kelly looked like he played a pretty good game. But I'll tell you, aside from Mixon, the story in the Bengals game was their defense. They picked off Kelly 3 times. They forced a couple fumbles, recovered a couple fumbles. They held one of the best offenses in the game to just 7 points. Pretty impressive. I look forward to watching more Bengals football here in that defense. But again, I'm going to say it again, Cleveland. Watch your back. Cincinnati's coming for you. Another good new owner we've got in the league. Legit clutch. He's the Philadelphia Eagles owner. Seems like he's turned around that Eagles franchise in a couple games here. That guy's playing off the hook as well. Very good user skills. He's got that Eagles team looking like the real-life Eagles of last year when they won the Super Bowl in the NFL. So I'd like to keep an eye on him, too. He's playing really good. Another new owner. Cam, 2190. He took over a Rams team that was injured. They were missing Jared Goff, Todd Gurley, a couple other guys. He comes in. Rams just were stumbling on offense. They were 2-4. He took over and went against the 4-2 San Francisco 49ers. Now, this is another new owner, but this guy was playing pretty good football. He's winning more games than he's losing. And Cam comes in and just destroys them. 56-21. Jared Goff coming back off his injury, throws for 300 yards and 2 touchdowns. Todd Gurley has 31 carries for 227 yards and 5 touchdowns. That is probably the best performance of the season so far. But you're going to have to watch out for Gurley. 31 carries, you're exposing him to another injury here. I don't think the Rams can afford to lose a player like Todd Gurley. Brandon Cooks did have a good game with 3 catches, 112 yards, and a touchdown. Rams defense records 4 interceptions off Garoppolo. So good job, Cam. All right, well, we talked about that loss from Cincinnati and KC. Kansas City was beat pretty thoroughly. Looks like Kansas City management thought it was time to let You're Blessed go. Now, You're Blessed has been around for, about 7 years in Soden Bowl, and he chose to part ways with their management, and it took Kansas City all of about 72 seconds to announce their new head coach. So, without further ado, Kansas City has signed Coach D. Soden 1 to take over in Kansas City. Now, he does have some injuries to deal with. Patrick Mahomes is out for at least a couple more weeks. Kareem Hunt is also injured, but both of them should be coming back around the same time. I guess the question is going to be is can he make do with what he has? That division looks like it's pretty competitive. I think the Chiefs and the Chargers probably have the best rosters in that division, so it's just a matter of who can play better football down the stretch and who can be healthy. But I think Kansas City will have a bounce back performance with D Soden one. D Soden does bring some very good defense to the fray, so look for Kansas City's defense to kind of step it up a bit. That should be enough to help them get back to their winning ways. Speaking of defense, how about them Dolphins? The Dolphins have just been playing amazing football. They're 6-0. Yeah, they're probably 7-0 by the time I'm recording this. I know they play Detroit. No disrespect to Detroit, but Miami's just playing unreal right now. Probably the best defense that I've faced in a long time. Very good user skills. He's running around with linebackers, making them look like corners. I could have sworn I saw Deion Sanders playing middle linebacker a few times there, but all kidding aside, very good owner, very sim. Love his play calling. Just when you think he's going to run, he's throwing. When you think he's throwing, he's running, and he's getting first downs, moving the chains. And oh, by the way, when he's on defense, yeah, watch out because he can bring pressure. He can lock out your run. He can box out the tight end, the slot receiver. I mean, he has a good understanding of Madden. He has a good understanding of football. So that is probably my favorite defense right now would be the Finns. I only have one game of watching the Bengals, but that Bengals defense looks pretty impressive too. My number one team in the league, though, I got to give it up to the Cleveland Browns. The Browns are 7-0. Best offense in the game. I mean, it's unreal to say that about a Cleveland Browns team that in Madden is lacking roster talent from Madden's perspective, but they're not lacking user talent. The Browns user is just, he's playing lights out. And don't get me wrong, he's playing good defense too. But this guy, he can spread that ball around, and you're just, there's just not much you can do about it. And he doesn't have a whole lot of weapons in Cleveland. I know they have Landry, Chubb at running. Yeah, a good, decent rookie quarterback. But, I mean, wait till these guys get some of their progressions up and he's able to draft some guys. Shanks is going to be a playoff team. He's going to get a first-round bye. He's going to get a couple people are going to get a good crack at him in the playoffs. Maybe Miami, maybe Cincy, maybe somebody else. But Shanks is going to be a tough one to take down, and he's only going to get harder as that Browns team gets better. He's going to be harder and harder to beat. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Cleveland, Miami, Cincinnati can do in the East or in the AFC. In the NFC, we've got Seattle. Seattle's just amazing right now. They're also undefeated, 6-0. Again, probably 7-0 by the time I record this. Actually, I think they're on their bye this week, but they're playing lights out football too, and they're doing it in a different way. They're doing it on the ground in Seattle. And that's a good mix because with the type of defense he's playing, he's not really liable to be turning the ball over that much. I mean, Chris Carson, in 6 games, leads the league. Seattle on their bye. I know Minnesota's played one more game than them now, so Dalvin Cook technically is our rushing leader at 978 yards for the season. But Chris Carson in one game less has 931 yards running. And really, he's the heartbeat of that Seattle offense. And on defense, I mean, we all know who Seahawks is. Seahawks is the most, the winningest coach in Soden Bowl history. He's got more Super Bowls, more career wins, more playoff appearances, and I don't think he's ever lost that NFC West. He seems to win that year in, year out, and he just does enough on defense traditionally to get in and win that Super Bowl. And this year, I mean, he's got the offense playing at a very high level like he normally does. but you can't sleep on his defense. His defense is playing really good football as well. Good user skills, smart owner. Somebody that's not gonna beat himself. We watched a few teams, kind of beat themselves during the game, making bad reads and continually compounding bad reads with poor decisions. And yeah, looking at Seattle's defense now, they actually rank first in points allowed. Get this, they're only allowing 9 points per game. That's crazy. I mean, you're not going to lose many games, if any at all, only giving up 9 points per game. He ranks 16th in yards. He gives up 178.2 yards per game. That's really good, especially in today's league where it seems like guys are just putting yards up like crazy. But you know what? Yards don't win games. Points do. So I'm going to give it up to Seattle's defense here. Only allowing 9 points per game. That's crazy. He does rank first with pass defense. I don't know. Has anybody checked to see if the Legion of Boom is still there? I didn't think they were, but they're only giving up 110 passing yards per game. That's just crazy. Looking down Seattle's list here, we've got Russell Wilson. Wilson is completing 70.6% of his passes. He only has 555 yards passing. That's okay. Looks like he's been injured too. I mean, we've got Brett Hundley. Looks like he shared about half the snaps. He's also completing 73.2% of his passes for 476 yards. One critique I will give Seattle. Seattle only has 6 combined touchdown passes, and then they have 7 combined interceptions. So I think that rate needs to come up a little bit for the playoffs. 7, as a team, they have less interceptions than most of the starting quarterbacks in the top 10 this year. So their interceptions are probably on the lower end, but their touchdowns are also on the lower end. So I'd like to see that come up a little bit. But let's talk about Chris Carson here. He's definitely in the MVP running here. He's, like I said, he's got 931 rushing yards. He's averaging 6.2 yards per carry, and he has 13 touchdowns through 6 games. So if you're playing Seattle, watch out for Chris Carson. Stop Chris Carson. In the receiving game, Doug Baldwin, again, leads that team. He's just their go-to guy. He has 376 yards, 2 touchdowns. He does have 3 drops, which is uncharacteristic of Doug Baldwin. 22 catches. Tyler Lockett technically has more catches. He's got 24 catches for 209 yards, but he has 4 drops himself and no touchdowns. So I'd say if I had to play Seattle, I'd probably try to shut down that run game and then just kind of see what I can do to stop the pass. Defense, these guys are lights out on defense. Earl Thomas has 3 picks, leads the team. Looks like Shaquille Griffin also with 3 interceptions, so technically those 3 are tied because we have Kalen Reed who also has 3 interceptions. So yeah, between these 3 guys, that's 9 interceptions alone. There's a lot of onesies and twosies in this defense too, so yeah, be careful throwing the ball against this new Legion of Boom in Seattle. Looking over the standings this year, we talked about the Browns. We know that the Browns are undefeated, 7-0. We've got Miami, who's 6-0, Seattle, who's 6-0. That would probably be my power ranking. Power ranking should come out sometime this weekend officially. It's been a long time coming. Looks like Shanks, myself, T-Man, and maybe Jimmer should have some power rankings up for you guys on a weekly basis. But if I had to pick my power rankings right now, I would definitely take Cleveland at number 1, Miami at number 2, a really close number 2. He's 6-0. Seattle's 6-0. Tampa Bay lost in a close game to Cleveland, so Tampa Bay is 5-1. Cincinnati, Kansas City, Dallas, New England, Minnesota, all 5-2, all good teams, very competitive owners. We've got Houston 4-2 yet to play. We have Philly 4-2 yet to play. Washington 4-2, who just lost in a close game to Dallas. We've got Atlanta at 4-3. Now, don't sleep on it at Atlanta. I have watched this guy play, and this guy can bring it on offense. It seems like he can score from anywhere on the field. And Julio Jones leads the league in receiving yards. And number 5 is Calvin Ridley, rookie wide receiver on the opposite side of the field. So watch out if you're playing Atlanta. This guy can come out and get you. We've got San Francisco, new coach at 4-3. We've got swing on these. Very good owner, consistent owner. 3-3 with Green Bay, so he's doing pretty good. It's a little bit of a roster challenge team. I know they have Aaron Rodgers, but he needs a few more weapons, maybe a running back out there in Green Bay. This one's a bit of a surprise for me. Jacksonville at 3-3. SY is one of the most sim owners I've ever played, and he can beat anybody on any given day. So Jacksonville at 500, I'd say that's not going to last. He's going to pick it up. I feel bad for anybody who's got to play Jacksonville towards the end of the year, because once he gets the feel for this Jaguars team, he's going to be a playoff contender, and he's going to ruin some hopes and dreams. We've got Griggs at 3-3 with the Chargers. Griggs has struggled with activity a bit. He's got a few sims here. He needs to get back to his winning ways. Los Angeles Rams, they were kind of in flux, got rid of their coach. New coach comes out and blows the doors off of San Francisco. So they're sitting at 3-4. They are definitely still in the mix. That Rams roster is definitely legit. We've got the Colts, number 19, 3-4. That's another team, roster challenged a bit, but they do have Andrew Luck. They do got some good wide receivers, nice young running back out there, a couple good weapons on defense. Definitely something to build around. Probably one of the two biggest surprises in the league right now. We've got Made in Hawaii at number 20 with the New Orleans Saints. He's 2-3. Now, there is some controversy. Drew Brees, 99 overall, 98 overall, whatever he is. He was benched at the beginning of the year in favor of Teddy Bridgewater. Now, a lot of people in the league didn't like it, myself included, but Bridgewater is playing Pro Bowl football right now for the Saints. Now, the Saints are 2-3, but that's not going to last. We all know who Made in Hawaii is. We know he's a winning coach and probably one of the best middle linebacker users in the game. So he's gonna win some games. He's had a tough schedule to start out. I think that's why he's sitting at 2-3. He's lost a couple close games. I would venture to say he's going to turn that thing around. He's going to make a run for that division, and he's going to be a playoff team, in my opinion. The other big surprise here, number 21, Pittsburgh Steelers, 2-4. Jimmer is great. Much like Made in Hawaii, he's got a great roster. He knows his team. He's just got to start clicking. Stop turning the ball over. Ben Roethlisberger has thrown too many interceptions. That's probably the big reason why the Steelers are 2-4 instead of being 4-2 right now. That Steelers team will turn it around, and they will make some noise in that AFC North. I know Cincy and Cleveland are playing great football, but don't sleep on Pittsburgh, guys. This team can turn it around and make a run. Baltimore Ravens, Uncle Creepy, 2-4, bit of a surprise, but he's had some things that he's had to deal with off the field, so he hasn't been active lately, and he's racking up the losses here. It's just a matter of time until he comes back. Is he going to be too far out of the run by the time he gets back to make a playoff run? Maybe. We'll see. Tennessee's sitting at 2-4. That's a pretty good roster, good team. The Denver Broncos, another new owner here. He's 2-4. He looks to be actually a really good owner. He's making some noise in there. He's playing good football. He can turn that system around in Denver. That's a good defense he's got there. He's got a good running back. He's got a serviceable quarterback. He's got some weapons in the passing game. He's got good stick skills. Yeah, I'd say probably in about 3 or 4 weeks we're looking at a winning record in Denver, and we're talking about them moving up the power rankings. Chicago. Now, I played Chicago last week, and it was a very aggravating game to me. Mostly because he played a great game. Tom Brady was leading the league in passing going into that game, and he absolutely shut him down. So that Chicago Bears defense is very good. Very good. Very well played by Yoshi. Yoshi kind of Yoshi was a little bit inactive at the beginning of the year. He racked up 2 quick losses in games that he couldn't play. He couldn't coach his team. Since then, he's won 2 more. He's now 2-4. So watch for Chicago to move up those rankings a bit. He does have a very good defense, as we know, and his offensive game plan was good. He was good. He didn't turn the ball over. I think he turned it over once. He threw a pick six. That was probably a mistake on his part, and he knows that. But very good rushing attack, two-headed running monster with Howard and Cohen. It's like lightning and thunder out there. They're very hard to stop. Another new owner. We've got Buffalo at number 26, 2-5. I have not seen much tape on this guy. I do know that he just sent Benjamin off on a trade, and I think that was a good move. Benjamin just hasn't produced in Buffalo. Looks like he wants to build a little bit younger on the wide receiver core, and I don't blame him. He's got a good defense. If he can get going on the offense, he's going to be a tough one to play. We've got Carolina at number 27. He's 1-4. Yeah, that's the tricky one too. That's a pretty good roster there. Hopefully he can turn it around. We're going to round out the last couple here. We've got the Oakland Raiders, number 28. He's 1-5. We've got the Jets at 1-6. Jets have had some problems with their coach attending games. He had some family issues that he had to deal with too. So we're going to see if he can get in there and start playing. Pickled Punk, number 30. He's winless, 0-5. He has been in some close games. He's come out great in a few games, been leading, and then just kind of let the game slip away. But, the Lions are a bit of a Madden roster challenge team. They do have a good quarterback, but getting rid of Golden Tate, that's tough. He's got to try to find another weapon out there in the passing game. So I look for Detroit to be a better team next year once they can kind of build around Stafford again. Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals is a good user. Our only United Kingdom coach. So, it's tough for him to get some scheduled games in. He is competitive. He is the sack master. If you play Arizona, you're going to get sacked. Don't run with your quarterback. Get rid of that ball. You need to be bing, bing, throw. If you're not, he's going to get you. Now, that defense, don't let the 0-6 record fool you. That defense is playing good football. Those guys can get after the passer. So be careful if you play Arizona. Arizona, again, once they make a couple more moves, kind of get to know their team a little bit. Larry Fitzgerald's having a pretty good season. That Cardinal team can turn it around a bit. At 0-6, I don't see them making the playoffs. They can turn it around, maybe ruin some hopes and dreams of a few other teams, kind of make things interesting in the NFC West. I know Seahawks is there, and Seahawks just doesn't lose, especially as the season moves on. He seems to get better and better. And then we've got the Giants. Now, the Giants had a coach who just was not following the rules to begin with. He ended up being removed for many league violations. Since then, they had to take over what he's done depth-wise, and they're in a rebuilding process in New York. I mean, they are 0-7. They do have Barkley at running back. They have Eli Manning, who's just kind of been playing subpar, maybe average at best. So he's going to need to figure out that quarterback position. Ogletree's playing pretty good at linebacker for him. He's got Odell Beckham. So, he's got some weapons. He needs some offensive line help. I think once he can get that offensive line help, he should be okay in New York. That NFC East division is really competitive. You got Big Mike out there with the Redskins. You got Tripp with the Cowboys, and nobody knows the Cowboys better than Triple Aries. So he's one of those coaches that he can just come out. He can beat anybody in the league at any given day, but he can turn around and lose to anybody too on the next day. So once Dallas gets that figured out, and then we've got legit Clutch, who took over as the Eagles, and he's playing good. He's playing really good. Big Mike, as I said before, Big Mike's a good owner. Big Mike seems to always make the playoffs and be, within the top 10 owners every single year in, year out. That should be a competitive division. I'm interested to see who comes out on top of that thing. I want to see if the Giants can turn this thing around and, get out of the basement here, ranked number 32 at 0-7. Hopefully they can. Let's take a look at some of the leaders, statistical leaders, going into the end of this week here. And don't forget, some of these are going to be a little bit off because there's a few teams that have not played yet. But looking at stats here, we've got Matty Ryan, who took over the passing lead. He's got 1,958 yards passing for Atlanta, followed by Carson Wentz and Tom Brady. Both those guys have roughly 1,700 yards passing. Andy Dalton moving up the list. Andy Dalton, 1,696 for Cincinnati. I'm telling you, I'm pretty high on Cincinnati. And then we've got Teddy Bridgewater from the Saints, made in Hawaii. You know, he's making the rest of the league look silly when they question his choice of benching, you know, future Hall of Fame quarterback Drew Brees. But Teddy B's got 1,666 yards passing. He's having a great season. League leading in running, we've got Dalvin Cook with 978, having a fantastic year. D. Ellis, he's bringing it with Minnesota, and that's a good team in Minnesota. And then we've got Chris Carson, Seattle, probably the best running back in the game right now, 931 yards running. Ezekiel Elliott, any team that's got Elliott at running back, the Dallas Cowboys, triple areas, he knows how to use them. Anybody as good as Elliott, they are going to be a tough team to take down. Elliott ranks third with 852 yards. He's having a fantastic season. We've got Geis in Washington with over 800 yards running. And then Joe Mixon sneaking up the list. The Bengals, 634 yards. As we said before, Julio Jones, the great Jones, leads the league, 682 yards receiving, followed by the speedy Deshaun Jackson in Tampa. Now, there's somebody nobody's talking about. Well, at least not in public. Jackson, he may be in his 30s. That guy can run. He's got 652 yards. If you're going to play Tampa, keep a safety over the top. Do not play man press and let Jackson beat you. Come on, guys. Amari Cooper, Dallas, number 3, 609 yards. What a trade for Dallas. I'm picking up Amari Cooper from Oakland. I tell you, the guy's been great, and Triple Aries knows how to use him. Minnesota, D. Ellis, Stephon Diggs, 571 yards. And then we've got Michael Thomas of the Saints rounding out the top 5 at 565 yards receiving. Looking at the defense, we've got the Jets. Avery Williamson, 46 tackles. C.J. Mosley from Baltimore, 42 tackles. Fred Warner, good upcoming middle linebacker in San Francisco, 39 tackles. Brandon Marshall, Denver, 37 tackles. That defense is good, is really good. And then we've got Eric Berry, Kansas City, 36 tackles. You know, watch out. D. Soden 1's taking him over. That guy's going to be a weapon for him. Sacks, David Irving, Dallas, leading the league, 12 sacks out of the defensive tackle position. I'll tell you, there's almost no way to get away from a rush straight up the middle in your face like that. Now, I had the pleasure of watching Carlos Dunlap last night. He had a couple sacks for Cincinnati. He's second on the list with 10. Cameron Hayward out of Pittsburgh, Jimmer B, still playing good defense, maybe struggling a bit in the win column, but he's number 3 with 9 sacks, tied with, about 7 people in the league, including J.J. Watt and Cameron Wake out of Miami. Interceptions. Here's Miami's story. Jerome Baker, linebacker, Miami, 8 interceptions through just 6 games. If you're throwing the ball in Miami, watch out for Baker. Don't throw anywhere near him. Fred Warner, that same good young linebacker out of San Francisco, he's got 6 picks. Nigel Bradham, Philly, 6 picks. Kendall Donnerson, New Orleans, can't say I've ever heard of him. He's got 6 picks. And Joe Schobert, Cleveland, 5 picks. So you can see some of these good users here. We've got Miami, very good user. San Francisco, he's a bit new. Philadelphia, another great owner. New Orleans, very good owner, championship-style owner. And then Cleveland, who's undefeated. You look at those guys, you see good user play, and look, it reflects right there on the interception list for them. So outstanding play for these guys. Week 7, we have some games left to be played. Denver, Arizona, Detroit, and Miami. Carolina, Philadelphia, New Orleans, Baltimore, Houston, Jacksonville, Tennessee, and the Chargers. So I'm interested to see how these games play out here. Again, advances tonight, guys. So get those games in. If you're gonna host or broadcast this game, throw a link in the chat so we can watch, because I'll tell you, there is some really good talent in this year's Pro League. It's been a pleasure to watch so far. With that being said, I'm out, guys. You guys have a good night, good day. We'll talk to you again later. Pro League's moving on. League's looking great. You guys are doing great. I'm out. Pro League sponsored by Allied Plumbing and Heat, a name you can trust. Later, guys.